Dialects reporter Anthea Page was at a recent screening of Bloody Spring, Libyan conflict, and afterwards she had an interview with Fulvio Grimaldi, who made the film with the support of the umbrella organisation Global Civilians for Peace in Libya.
Fulvio Grimaldi, journalist, war correspondent, based in Rome, 45 years of professional experience.
Tell us about your recent trip to Libya.
Well, I went to Libya twice during the aggression in May and then in June again. And I went mainly to the western part of Libya, Tripoli, Tripolitania, Fezzan, the area under the control of the legitimate government, which I consider a legitimate government. And I experienced the terrible effects of the constant NATO bombings, day and night, thousands and thousands of operations, of incursions into civilian areas. I witnessed the death, the mass killings, the woundings and the destruction of the effects of these bombings. And I also spoke to many people who in their absolute majority were against these NATO bombings, the war at large, and against the rebellion that started in Benghazi. The majority of these people thought that their life under the present government, the Gaddafi government, was, as also confirmed by the United Nations, one of the best standards in Africa. And therefore they were determined to defend it, which is what they are doing.
What is your criticism of the world media?
The media, generally the mainstream media, the important media such as the New York Times, the Daily Telegraph, the Times, Washington Post and so on, they are owned, Murdoch's television channels, they're all owned by people who have an interest in these wars. They have an interest in the wars of conquest of areas, of countries that have resources that they want, out of which they gain profit. So there is an identification with those that make the wars, that do the bombing, that organize the occupation, and those that speak about it. They move on parallel lines, on parallel rails, because they have shared interests.
Just seen a film that you made while you were out there, and there were some shocking images. Can you tell us about what the rebels did, but not in the graphic detail, to the black Africans?
Yes, well, this was something that shocked the world, because eventually, despite all the connivance of the mainstream media, some honest journalists managed to bring the truth to general knowledge. It was, among others, the Daily Telegraph was one of the first to denounce the unbelievable persecution of the blacks in Benghazi, once the rebels had taken control of the city. No black man with a black skin, whether he was a Libyan or he was an immigrant from other African countries, felt safe anymore. They were being chased, they were being captured, they were being tortured, and they were being burned alive on many occasions. And this has been shown, has been documented by people who had the courage and the wits to take pictures of this by their mobile phones and let them filter through to the world. This is one of the most horrific aspects of this war. But not only the chasing of the black people out of sheer racism. They called them mercenaries. These people were not mercenaries. They were black Libyans, and they were immigrant workers from other African countries.
I'm Dave Roberts from Global Civilians for Peace in Libya. We are an umbrella organisation that's conducted 3 fact-finding missions between April until the fall of Tripoli recently. We've had people on the ground throughout. We've made 3 major reports of what we've found there, and we've assisted in the production of a number of films, including Fulvio Grimaldi's film. And if anybody wants to find out what's actually going on in Libya, the reality of it, please get onto the website, globalciviliansforpeace.com.
In your opinion, is there a lot of media involved in propaganda?
There has been propaganda, Western propaganda, from day one. And people will be surprised that papers such as The Guardian have been at the cutting edge of propaganda, and, not the traditional right-wing papers. If you go onto our website, you'll find Western sources where they're accurate being reproduced, irrespective of what sources they come from, and other sources as well.
Just one last thing. They said that Gaddafi had bombed his own people. Is that true or not?
The Resolution 1973 went through very quickly and very rapidly through the UN on the basis that Gaddafi had bombed 3 areas of Tripoli, Sukjuma, Fashloum and Trajura. On our first fact-finding mission in April, we visited those 3 areas, we pop-voxed numerous people, we filmed, there was no damage. Everybody that we interviewed came and said it was a pack of lies by the Western media, that it wasn't true. People were genuinely concerned that events were being taken out of their hands and that the whole thing had been done to start a war against Libya.
Thank you to Anthea Page. She was talking to Italian war correspondent Fulvio Grimaldi, based in Rome, and also to David Roberts from the Global Civilians for Peace in Libya.